Hello friends, it's Greg here again on the Blue Feather Ephemera channel. I have an eBay store by the same name where I sell vintage magazine print advertising. Today I'm going to show you 25 ads that sold for $343. Let's take a look. Let's start with this 1963 advertisement from Grinnell Sprinkler Systems. It's a company based in Providence, Rhode Island, and it's showing you in the picture a modern hospital room. And it says they provide commercial and industrial sprinkler systems for places like hospitals, schools, factories, and all of that. Now, I've sold a lot of sprinkler systems ads. I don't know if it's because of, where the company location is and somebody in that hometown wants the ad. It could be that there are architects or maybe risk management folks in insurance that insure places that use sprinkler systems, or maybe it's structural engineers or whatever. But I do sell a lot of sprinkler system ads. This one sold for $14.77. I sold this ad from 1944. The advertiser is Old Fitzgerald Bourbon Whiskey, and it shows a Kentucky map on the wall of the advertisement there. And by the serving tray, there is a ceramic horse. So a lot of things Kentucky in this ad. And it went to Western Kentucky. Somebody out in the region of the Bourbon Trail bought this ad for $9.77. This is a nice looking ad from 1953, and this ran in that Quartermaster Review magazine that I talk about sometimes. This is the one for the military audience of buyers in the Quartermaster's Corps. And in the detail of this ad, you can see they show you all kinds of good looking planters products, including peanut oil in various sizes, almonds, peanuts, cashews, candy bars, and all the rest. I've sold several of these. Apparently there's some Mr. Peanut fans out there. This ad mentions the locations in Suffolk, Virginia, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and San Francisco, California. $13.77. Here's an interesting ad to talk about, maybe for a strange reason, but it has to do with the way that I chose to title this listing. I titled it Florida Imports Green Cove Springs, Florida Italian Stiletto Knife, print ad 1955. When you read through the details of the text in the advertisement here, it's obvious that what they're talking about is a switchblade knife. And I've sold a few knife ads. I've even sold a few switchblade knife ads, but I never call them switchblade knives in the title listing or anywhere else in the listing. The reason for that is because for my whole life, there's been restrictions on whether you can carry, conceal, buy, sell, trade, traffic, interstate, whatever, switchblade knives. There is an actual Switchblade Knife Act in federal law. And so rather than have that battle, because if you've got customers who sometimes mistake the print advertisement that you're selling for the actual product, well, it's going to be a given that eBay is going to do the same thing. So rather than have the battle with them and try to explain, I'm not selling a switchblade knife, I'm just selling an advertisement for one, I'm just going to call it a knife. I called it an Italian stiletto. It's a knife. And somebody found this ad and bought it within hours. It was listed less than 5 hours before it sold. $7.77. This is the first of two insurance advertisements that I want to show you. This one from Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company of Milwaukee, 1942. And in the text here, the headline says, "Have you a wealthy woman in your home?" And it's talking about things that she should know. This is in the context of the treatment of wealth for tax purposes, state, federal, income taxes, and other taxes, probate costs, and how $95,000 of an inheritance ends up being around $80,000. And so it goes into some detail there, and it talks about how a sound insurance investment can avoid some of those taxes and other costs. This ad sold for $23.77. This is the other one I want to show you, and to do so, we leap all the way forward to 1981, and this is an ad that came out of National Geographic magazine. And as common as National Geographic magazines are, that's just an example that you can source and sell ads from any magazine. And I've seen National Geographics tossed because people view them as worthless, but inside each one are potentially at least $100, sometimes $200 of advertisements. I'm getting off topic. The reason I wanted to show you this ad is because this is another insurance company ad. This one from State Farm Insurance, and the other one was Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance. Now, both of those are insurance companies that are still in business today. And I think that that's a selling point, because if you have an agent of those insurance companies or office employees in those companies where they can purchase a vintage ad and maybe frame or display it in their workspace. I've said this before, that there's no better way to show that you're gung-ho for the company you work for than to have a piece of vintage advertising like this around your desk, cubicle, or office. I sold this one for $11.77. Here's a cute Singer sewing machine ad from 1960. It says, "For women who want to dream big." And this lady is apparently dreaming of a very big sewing machine that she's leaning up against. It shows a few different models in the advertisement here. $16.77. I wanted to include this one as another example of the kind of small advertisements that I love to sell. This one here is a 4x6 ad, actually smaller than 4x6. It's actually about 2.5 by 3. And it shows Jack Brown's Seaplane base located at Winter Haven, Florida. And it says for $175 and 2 days of your time, you can get your Seaplane rating there in Winter Haven. It's near Disney World, Cypress Gardens, and SeaWorld. And it'll help you put the fun back into flying in a Piper J3 or a 1978 Skyhawk equipped with floats. $7.77. Now here's a look at 10 advertisements that we're not going to cover in detail. Feel free to replay or pause any of this though, and if you have questions, just let me know. I normally do this near the end of the video, but today I'm going to drop it right in the middle. We'll have a few more great ads to see that we will talk about in detail, and we'll finish up with my favorite ad of the week, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about the sales numbers for this week. While these play, I'll remind you that as of today, I'm exactly 4 weeks into a free shipping policy trial for my eBay store. I'm seeking to know if eBay's algorithm and customer response to the free shipping policy is going to increase my sales volume so that my net revenue ends up being higher. The jury is still out. The numbers are interesting. Sometimes they're not encouraging, sometimes there are. I encourage you to stay tuned and catch future videos. My next bonus topic video will cover changes in traffic that I've seen since I started this test. If you love great old vintage advertising as much as I do, or if you're interested in seeing the results of the policy test that I'm talking about, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. And also leave a like and a comment, even if it's just a friendly hello. I'd love to hear from you. This ad left me scratching my head. It's a 1968 advertisement for Ford. They say they have better ideas for better vision in our cars. And what they're featuring here is the rear window defogger. And this is 1968. I saw this ad. I was thinking to myself, surely somebody came up with a rear window defogger before 1968. As a matter of fact, as a child, the oldest cars that I drove or rode in were older than 1968. And if you'll recall, most cars had a little shelf up in the back window above the seat. And since we were monkeys and didn't use our seat belts, that's where we rode sometimes. And I remember vents being there for the defogging purpose. And so I did a little bit of research on Google and found out that the Lincoln Motor Company was putting rear window defoggers in cars in 1935. So this is an idea whose time had come 33 years earlier. Anyway, this sold to Australia. This is one of 2 overseas sales during that week. I sold this ad for $13.77. On the screen is one of 2 advertisements that ran in Progressive Farmer magazine. This one from 1962. The other was the O.A. Smith automatic livestock feeder that you saw in that last segment. But this one is for a car battery, Hester Battery Manufacturing Company of Nashville, Tennessee. And in the detail of the ad here, it's talking about the creation of the battery lead oxide plates. And it says the battery is the most important part of the car because without it, the car won't start. Kind of obvious there. I sold this ad for $18.77. From 1999, this is the cast of the sitcom Frasier, and they're asking you, have you got milk? And this is a kind of a funny ad. My only attachment to it is I used to have a coworker, and she watched Frasier every night. Now, while she was watching Frasier, I was watching Hogan's Heroes every night. And to this day, I can say I've not seen a single episode of Frasier. It might be the funniest thing ever. But I do like the comedy that is in this ad. Down at the bottom, it says drinking milk regularly is a practice that can prevent a Freudian condition known as calcium envy. And so I sold this for $14.77. This is an ad from 1955. And the title here, Perma-Power Electric Remote Control Garage Door Opener. This ran in Radio and Television News 1955. In the detail here, all it is a garage door opener. And this is kind of new technology that was spun off from advancements during the World War II years. And, radio transmission wasn't really a new thing. Even during World War II. However, the applications for it and downsizing it to transistorize it and all of that were the advancements that made things like this possible. I'm highlighting it here just as an example that you can sell pretty much any kind of ad. This takes the right buyer to find it. I sold this for $11.77. I believe this is the oldest ad of the week from 1936. It's got some really nice art as well and some great history. The advertiser is the Square D Company. They make electric control switches, and they have offices or plants in Detroit, Milwaukee, Los Angeles, and Toronto. And when you look at the text of the ad, what they're talking about is they're extending power out to rural areas, including this farm that's in the picture here. You can see this is evening or dusk and probably under moonlight, but you see lights shining in all of the windows because this farm has electric power. That reminds me of the Jerry Clower story from World War II when he's serving on an aircraft carrier out in the Pacific, and he gets a letter from home and he goes squalling across the flight deck. And people saying, "Hey, Jerry, what's going on?" And he says, "The RECC done throwed off a creosote pole in my front yard." And so it was in the 1940s, probably the mid 40s there, 44 or 45, when his little part of Mississippi got electric power out into that rural area. But anyway, nice ad here. I sold it for $18.77. What is a blue feather ephemera video without a great car advertisement? And this one here is really nice. It's from 1976. Shows the Mercedes-Benz 300D. It's a diesel sedan, 5-cylinder car. And I just love the body style of the Mercedes from the late 60s up through the mid 70s. It's got a pretty confident looking front end on it there. And I sold this ad for $16.77. I'll show you some store numbers after we take a look at my favorite ad of the week right here. And this ran in True Magazine 1964. And if you read the ad, yes, it's true. You could order a darling pet monkey, a squirrel monkey, and they guaranteed live delivery from Miami Beach, Florida. This was a small ad. It's the smallest size I sell, a little bit over 2 inches by about 2.5 inches. But in the text of the ad here, you can see that for $18.95, which in 1964 was nothing to sneeze at unless you were allergic to monkeys, I guess, but they would guarantee live delivery of a young monkey that would grow to be about 12 inches high. And they would send you, along with the monkey, a free cage, a free leather collar and leash, and a free monkey toy and instructions, all for $18.95 from the Animal Farm in Miami Beach, Florida. I sold this for $7.77. Well, I promised you some numbers to take a look at, and here they are. Now, this is from a year ago, July 29th of 24 to August the 4th of 24. And during that week a year ago, I sold only 11 items, and my gross sales were $213.87, and my selling cost $149.22, and my net income from that $45.84. But you've got to take into account eBay doesn't consider my shipping materials. Now, for 11 items, those shipping materials cost me about $14.30. And so my actual net revenue from that week of sales last year, $31. And that's for 20 hours work. That is less than $2 per hour. That was terrible. Now, I remember communicating to you last year in the videos that I made that I think I said once that the eBay train had crashed, and I remember saying that it was a sales roller coaster, and I had hot and cold sales and all of that, and that's true. When you look back over the course of the summer, I had good weeks and bad weeks. Overall, though, I think I had a pretty good summer last year, and I could say the same for this summer, even though I'm doing this free shipping test. So let's see how these numbers from a year ago stack up to this week that we just looked at. I'm going to change my calendar here to end on August the 4th of 25. And I'm going to start it July the 29th of 25. And generate that report. So the first thing you notice, sales are way up, $388 compared to $213. That's an 81% increase over last year. But I had to sell 25 items to get there, and my selling cost $245.42. That left me with net sales of $115.36. That is not my net income though, because to pack and ship 25 items, that cost me roughly $37.50. So I only netted $77.50. Now, again, I call that a terrible week, but it's not been a terrible summer. If you remember back to my video last week, I grossed $523 in that week, and my net sales were about double what they are this week. And that's going to be true all summer long. That's the nature of summer sales. Hot and cold, up and down, roller coaster sales during summer. And that's what we're seeing right here. However, at $77.50, I made less than $4 per hour. And then you got to consider, out of that, I've got to pay Uncle Sam, and I've got to buy gas to go to the post office and a few other things. I'm not happy with that sales number, and that's why the thumbnail to this video and that introduction screen says I made peanuts. This was a week that I consider that I made peanuts. I'm not happy with it, but I want to be honest and show you all true numbers from the store. And I'm hoping that next week looks great. I'm confident the next quarter is going to be fantastic, no matter what I decide to do at the end of this free shipping policy test. So, with that said, I appreciate you watching till the end. I thank you, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.